Hey, I'm Stephanie, and I am talking to you today about how to choose the right fabric for your modern corset. Alright, so I'm sorry if you've been with me for this whole little corset trip, but I am going to say this at the beginning of every video because people be crazy about their corsets. This is not a historical sewing video. There are tons of amazing historical sewers out there who I absolutely adore. I will link them all below for you if that is something that you're interested in. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we are talking about how to choose the best fabric for your corsets. And I'll be honest, there have been a lot of corsets that I have made, be they for costumes or Halloween or performance or whatever, where my number one focus was the look of the fabric. If I had to iron on interfacing, or if I had to back it with another kind of fabric to give it strength, or if I had to go down to the river and beat it against a rock to soften it up, like I didn't care. It was about the look. And so for the most part, I mean, if you have a pretty fabric and you're like, yeah, I want to make a corset out of it, you could probably do it. So I don't want you to feel like that there's going to be so many rules about this that it's going to be hard to follow. But I am going to talk about some of the pros and cons of different fabrics that you can make corsets out of. And that actually brings us to kind of the first question you're going to have to ask yourself is, where are you wearing this? Is this something that you want for everyday kind of outerwear, maybe pairing it with jeans or under a blazer or something like that? Is it something for a special occasion, for a wedding, or is it for Halloween? Are you gonna wear it under your clothes? Are you using it for waist training? Do you need extra strength? If you are gonna wear it under your clothes, you want it to be really breathable because you're layering, you know? So that's gonna be the number one question that you have to ask yourself. So one of the oldest kinds of fabric for making corsets is called coutil. It often has a herringbone pattern in it, although it does also come in a satin or brocade, and it is just very, very strong. It's a woven fabric, and with any woven fabric, when you're corseting, you can cut it on the straight grain to give you more strength, or you can cut it on the bias if you are curving around like a hip or a bust or something like that. And it is just, it's sort of like the tried and true, it's been around for forever, and it's amazing for making corsets, and it does come in some really beautiful finishes if you're wanting to use your corset for outerwear. Now, as I mentioned before, if you're wanting to make a corset that is for wearing under your regular garments, if you're wanting to have just that shaping, or if you're wanting waist training, I had somebody comment on a video that they wanted a corset to help them just with their diaphragm when they are public speaking. If that's what you're wanting, then cotton's going to be your friend. If you're wearing a corset in the summer, cotton's going to be your friend. It's going to be breathable, it's going to be light. A cotton corset with some plastic bones is going to be very lightweight and easy to wear. If you are going to use, like if there's a decorative cotton that you want to use and it is a very, very fine cotton, I would recommend layering it up with another piece of cotton behind it. You'll keep that breathability, but it'll just give you that little bit of extra strength, and the addition of a waist tape, which I'll get to in a second, can also help there as well. I think nowadays satin is one of the most popular things to make a corset out of, either because the corset is going to be the top for a formal dress or a gown, or just because people like to feel pretty, and satin has that sheen and that luster, and it feels rich and elegant, and so a lot of people go for satin for corsets. If you are going to use satin, please choose a medium to heavyweight satin. Your lightweight satins are going to pull at the seams a little bit too much, and you'll see kind of like your seams won't hold very nicely, and it will be noticeable over time. Silk brocade is another classically beautiful fabric that you can make corsets out of. Being silk, it is very strong, it is quite breathable, and it does come with a really nice luster and sheen to it as well, and you can get beautiful, beautiful patterns woven into it. Not to be confused with polyester brocade, which can also be beautiful, but I caution you, polyester does not breathe, and when you are wearing something that close to your body that does not breathe, and this isn't just about polyester, this is about your faux leather, your faux furs, all of that kind of stuff. It's hot. And if you're okay with that, then great, but it's hot. And that same warning goes with velvet. There are a lot of velvets out there that are polyester, but there are cotton velvets and silk velvets. And some velvets actually are backed with a cotton to give them extra stability. Those are great for making corsets. And again, people go for velvet for that luxurious feel. So, and I mentioned leather a second ago. So is leather good to make a corset out of? Well, you can. You can make a corset out of real leather. There is going to be a little bit more care that you're going to have to take with that corset. For sure, it's going to have to be dry cleaned if you need to get it cleaned. And you are going to have to line it with something else to be next to your skin, or even better, wear something between your corset and your body, as you know, corsets are intended to be worn. But I get it. That's not everybody's scene. I'm not going to harp on that. But having a corset made out of leather, definitely line it with something. And even then, what you have to be careful of is sometimes moisture from your body and oils from your skin will discolor the leather. Some leathers require you to condition it regularly so that it doesn't dry out and crack. So they're things that you have to sort of consider when you are using a leather. Now, the last thing I want to mention is mesh. There are very strong meshes that you can get from corset supply stores. And they're super great for making corsets. They're super lightweight, they're super breathable, they're really great if you're wearing a corset underneath something and you just need to have that structure and stability, but you don't want to add more layers so that you have like ultimate breathability. It's great for that. You can also use it in really fun designs. And having like those see-through panels on your corset. There's a lot of bridal gowns. I don't know that they're as popular as they were maybe 10 years ago, but when you see a bridal gown where it looks like the bride is just covered in lace that is strategically placed, that is a mesh corset that has the flowers put on top of it, and then the mesh just kind of blends in with the skin. So there's a ton of really fun things that you can do with mesh with your corsetry. All right, so I mentioned waist tape earlier, and I was going to talk about this with notions and stuff like that, but the fabric that you choose can have some bearing on whether or not you choose to put a waist tape into your corset. Not every corset has to have a waist tape. Certainly if you're using mesh, you might not want to be able to see it. It goes on the inside of your corset, so depending on how you finish your corset, if you have a lining, then you wouldn't even see it at all. But it goes on the inside of your corset and it attaches to the inside of the boning channels or the seams. And what that does is it gives some extra stability so that the narrowest part, your waistline, when your body pushes against it and when you cinch that up, you're not going to have the seams of your corset have as much strain on them. So if you do choose a fabric that is a bit lighter, be it for decorative purposes or breathability or whatever, you might want to get some waist tape. And this is just a twill tape. I use 1 inch, but I have a really long torso. You could absolutely use like 5/8 or a 1/2 inch or whatever you feel like is going to work for you. Again, this is not meant to be visible on the outside. So as long as you have a color that's not going to show through your fabric, you can just get whatever. I just usually buy tan because whatever color I make my corset, this is going to blend in with my skin if I'm not like lining my corset. So it's not going to show through the fabric. Well, there you go. There are some things to think about when choosing your fabric for your corset making. We are going to get into actually making the corsets soon, so I hope that everybody's really excited about that. I sure am, because I haven't made a corset in an age, people. Not in an age, and I am ready for this. But we still have a few more things to talk about next time when we get into patterns and findings, and then we will actually start making the corsets. I'm excited. That's all I have for you this week. We'll see you next week.